everyone.
Good morning.
I like this setup here so I can kind of like scope you like this, turn around like this. We're setting it up like this today because when we have, that's right, so you can talk and also everybody else can talk too, because when we have a dialogue sermon, it's a better way for us to see each other and sort of interact. So I'm not going to go forward too during that time so that you can sort of like talk with me, or if you don't want to talk with me, that's fine too. I don't care. Just kidding. No, but it'll be a nice way for us to sort of continue on with this. So welcome to the United Church of Christ in Warminster. We are an open and affirming community of faith where all people are welcome. Wherever you are in life's journey, you're welcome in this place. And for those of you on Periscope, welcome to you as well. We're glad you've come to join us, whether you're in your pajamas or not. This is what we do. So we're glad you've come today. Today's theme is also like last week a little bit because it is about healing. But does anybody remember the teaser from last week? Ah, I like it. Feeling a little dead. That's right. So I want you to wrestle with this question this morning. Have you ever felt dead in this life? And do you think that resurrection or new life is possible during this life? So have you ever felt dead? And do you think resurrection is possible in this life? So as we think about that question, we invite you to allow the music and the prayers to bring you to that place. We can, wherever we are on our journey, address those questions together as a community. So let's worship together.
I want to see
words, God's Spirit is here among us, present in us. And so when we connect to each other, we share that with each other. When we share the passing of the peace, it is in recognizing that the Spirit of Christ is here when we gather. So I invite you, will you please pass the peace with me? May we share the wholeness of Christ with each other, recognizing that it lives in you and lives in those who are here this morning, and even those who are not with us today. So may the peace of Christ be with you. Share that wholeness with one another.
Peace, Ian. Peace. 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 Peace.
How you doing?
Peace.
Hi, Josh. How are you?
Peace.
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 Oops, sorry.
Peace, Jean.
Double peace.
This is my toddler. She wants you to shake her giraffe loving hand.
Peace, Angela.
Yeah.
Peace.
We have our ritual.
Wow, that's a special giraffe.
Peace, Mary.
It's so good to see each one of you this morning. Looking forward to this time together. If you would like to stand with us, we welcome you to that. You are not obligated to do that. I'm going to say, mighty to save. Savior, He can move the mountains. Our God is mighty to save, and we're going to celebrate that this morning.
I can still use it.
Everyone needs compassion, love that's never failing, and mercy on me. Everyone needs forgiveness, kindness of Savior.
Psalm 31, verses 1 to 3, 8 to 12. I give you all the credit, God. You got me out of that mess. You didn't let my foes gloat.
God, my God, I yelled for help.
And you put me together.
God, you pulled me out of the grave, gave me another chance at life when I was down and out.
I
I called out to you, God. I laid my case before you.
Can you sell me for a profit when I'm dead? Auction me off at a cemetery yard sale? Then I'm dust to dust. My songs and stories of you won't sell.
So listen and be kind. Help me out of this.
You didn't change my wild lament into a morning dance. You ripped off my black mourning band and decked me with wildflowers.
I'm about to burst a song.
I can't keep quiet about you.
God, my God,
I can't thank you enough.
Breathe on me.
breathe on me, breath of God, breathe on me. Breathe on me, breath of God, breathe on me. I come alive, I'm alive when you breathe on me. I come alive, I'm alive when you breathe on me. Awake, awake, awake my soul. God resurrect these bones from death to life for you alone. Awake my soul. Speak to me, word of God. Speak to me. Speak to me, word of God. Speak to me. Yes, I come alive, I'm alive when you speak to me. Oh, I come alive, I'm alive when you speak to me. Awake, awake, awake my soul. God resurrect these bones from death to life for you alone. Awake my soul. Awake, awake, awake my soul. God resurrect these bones from death to life for you alone. Awake my soul. So, I've been skipping it because I get too excited. I'm not skipping it, I'm just changing the order because that's the spirit, right? Spirit's like, it goes here, not there. Right?
Keep me on my toes.
That's right, keep you on your toes. That's right. You got the quick trigger.
Got the fingers going.
Good thing you have that quick trigger, right? With this head, you never know what's going to happen. So, glimpses of the spirit. For those of you who haven't heard this speech enough, this is what this is. It's kind of an open time to be grateful. Sometimes it's just a simple thing that has happened recently. Maybe you connected to somebody in a real way, and you know, like the other day, I think it was Michael who shared something like that, just a connection with somebody. Even if you're at a store and you're buying something, you just have a connection. You have a moment in which you connect with another human being, and that's a glimpse of God's Spirit. Or maybe it's something bigger than that. Maybe there's something you've been kind of hoping for and praying for, maybe some wisdom on a decision, and that sort of came to you. So whatever it is for you, I am grateful. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm grateful right now that this week on Thursday we had a meeting with, some of you were there, and some of you who were not able to be there were there with us in spirit. But we had a great meeting, I think, a moment for us as a community to think about what our gifts are. And we're going to keep following up with that because I think it's so important for us to recognize what we're good at. Not necessarily our talents, but where we're actually in our wheelhouse. What is our jam? Like, what's the moment where you feel like this is me? This is what I do well. So I was really grateful to have the opportunity to hear from some of you, and also to have Jerry, who was sort of our facilitator on Thursday, to walk us through what it looks like for us to embrace those gifts as a community. So what are you grateful for? What do you like to share this morning? Yes?
I actually had something random happen on the way to church today.
Random is good.
Yeah. My daughter's been asking a lot of questions about death and dying lately. And she's 4, obviously, so we have to handle it very delicately. And, it got a little detailed, and I got a little choked up because we lost a nephew many years ago, and she wants to go see him. So we're going to actually go to the cemetery after church today so she can see him and meet him for the first time. And I got in here and I went up to Mari and, was like, oh, hey, in case it comes up during the children's worship, my kid might bring up death, dying, and zombies.
So will I.
Yes. And that's what Mari told me. And I'm like, the irony, right? When I really need some support, here it is.
So no, I think it's not irony.
I don't think so. I'm thinking, this is the pattern here.
Thanks for sharing that. Other things you'd like to share this morning? Yes.
When we came in for the weekend.
Oh. No sense. Just drop. That's when you just drop the mic. Oh, here it comes. Yes.
So I'm doing a lot of traveling lately, and for business. And first stop this past week was to Rhode Island to install our device. And I met up with a biomed person from Colombia, and it turns out I'm going to Colombia next week. So I got to learn a little bit more of the inside of where Colombia, South America. So it should be interesting, and she was nice to settle some of my fears.
Oh, yeah. I'll go with you, man. It'd be nice. It's nice. I'm not worried about it. It's no fun. Yes.
So, my friend's studying in the neighborhood. I haven't played him before. I haven't seen him in a while. And a couple days ago, I wanted his help, and we're starting to play again.
What's your name? Celine. You guys played with a friend you haven't seen for a while. That's right. That's true. Other things you'd like to share this morning? All right, let's just take a moment. And as I said again on Thursday, we're all so very different, and I like that about this community, trust me. So prayer is really something that I'm never going to sort of frame for you all the time, because I think you need to pray in your own way. So if you're somebody who wants to close your eyes right now, you can do that. I invite you to do it. If you don't want to, if you want to keep your eyes open like me, you're free to do that. And I just want to take a moment and pause. It doesn't even have to be complete silence. In fact, what I'd like for you to do right now is just to take a breath in. So everybody do that with me. 1, 2, 3, go. Now let it out. All right, now this time, same thing. But when you take the breath in, I want you to think about at least one person. If more come to your head, that's great. At least one person, you're just like, man, if I didn't know this person, my life would not be as good. So on that breath in, think about that person who makes your life better than it would have been. Breath in. Breath out. All right, last one. On the breath in, I want you to think about anything that's pretty heavy right now. It could be anything. It could be something you're worried about, something that's on your mind. Could be that as well. Could be what you've been asking questions about. I'm glad right now I'm not your parent. That's a hard question. I'm going to be thinking about you. Something that maybe is a little bit heavy, a little difficult, decision, or maybe a relationship. I want you to breathe that in on the way out. I want you to just let it be. Breathe in. And now. Amen.
So we're talking about this interesting subject of life and feeling not alive. And some of the time, this is all part of the growth process. And this song that we're going to sing together, actually, Kimberly and Jim, kind of lead us on the verses. They have a lot of words in them. So if you know the song and you want to sing along, you're more than welcome to do that. If it's a good time for you to just kind of take in the words, then feel free to do that as well. But it talks about the Lord's patience with us and the fact that He is with us in these times. And is that ever-present help in This is what you do. This is what you do. You breathe life into as we look at God. He makes us smile. That might feel a little bit impossible right now. I don't know where you are or what you're dealing with in your life. But if it does feel impossible, that's okay. Let's just sit with Him today and look to Him for the life that we need. It's always like springtime with you, making all things new. But it is breaking through in the dark.
kids up front?
Hi, Corey. Hi, everybody. How are you all today? Whoa. Oh, where's your walkie? I'm going to hold these for a minute, okay? Thank you. We are going to talk about a word today that's pretty hard. If I say to you the word dead, what do you think about? The Walking Dead.
Of course.
Well, we talked about the Walking Dead in Sunday school, didn't we? Yeah, the Walking Dead. What other words can you use to describe dead?
My cousin is dead into a ground and dead.
Yes, your cousin is dead and in the ground. And we're sorry about that. That happened a long time ago. Mommy's going to help you understand. Any other words you can think of? Oops. Found your head. What do you think, Jimmy? You are passed away. That's what we sometimes say. Someone is passed away. All right. We are going to hear a story now that is about someone who has passed away and someone who's going to be in the ground.
The gospel reading today is from Luke. Soon afterwards, he went to a town called Nain, and his disciples and a large crowd went with him. As he approached the gate of the town, a man who had died was being carried out. He was his mother's only son, and she was a widow, and with her was a large crowd from the town. When the Lord saw her, he had compassion for her and said to her, "Do not weep." Then he came forward and touched the bier, and the bearer stood still. And he said, "Young man, I say to you, rise." The dead man sat up and began to speak. And Jesus gave him to his mother. Fear seized all of them, and they glorified God, saying, "A great prophet has risen among us, and God has looked favorably on his people." This word about him spread throughout Judea and all the surrounding country.
Look at this. Ian just showed me something that really reminds me of this story. The boy in the story was what? Wait, I'll tell you what. It's a big surprise. The boy in our story, what had happened to him? He died. And then, what did Jesus say? If you were in Sunday school, you should know this. He came back to life. Jesus said, "Get up." Now, Ian, I want you to show your friends. It was like this. Boom! Whoa! That truck, it was like the truck came back to life, just like that. Dark, and then he turned it around, and light. Now, I wonder if you have ever felt dead inside. Not dead like your body, but dead like your heart or your spirit. Have you ever felt really, really sad? Yeah, or really, really upset? Not Ian. No. You need him on your woo team.
I was going to say, you've got the
woo team. We can be dead in our bodies, and we can be dead in our hearts. And Jesus can help us when we're feeling like that. What? If someone hurts us, if they hurt us, like our feelings, or physically hurt you, you might feel that way. And Jesus can help us feel more alive. But do you know what else? Jesus has sent all kinds of helpers to us to help us feel more alive. Who can help you when you're feeling really sad or really hurt besides Jesus? Your family might be able to help you. Who else? Maybe your friend. Maybe another grown-up you trust, like your teacher or your counselor. How about anybody here in this church? You think there's somebody in this room, maybe?
Mommy!
Your mommy? Mm-hmm. Pastor John. Who else do you think?
Me!
Corey can help us? Absolutely. And Mommy, you help me feel more alive every time you're here. And Daddy, and Pastor Josh, and everyone. And Mary, when she brings us our great music. So we are going to sing.
and your dad too. Yep. Let's say for he had to go to. I was at your dad's story. Let's say a prayer about that. God, thank you for this story. Thank you for reminding us that there are.
Thank you guys for people.
Thank you, God, for all the people who can help us be more alive. In your name we pray. And for trucks. Amen. And thank you for the nursery that Angela and Amber are going to take you and Courtney to right now. All right, kids, go get your wiggles out. You want to take your trucks with you? Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, I'm moving closer. I'm scared. You should be very, very afraid.
Are you with the
I'm going
mic?
to do that like once a week.
Josh, we lengthened the mic cord for you if you want to move it.
I don't even, well, do I need this really? But probably not. I'm going to take it and not drop it. Although dropping the mic is pretty cool. Just saying. All right, I'm going to bring a chair, which is over here. Yay, chair. I did not cause that to happen, by the way. That's on record. I'm saying that. Oh, this is fun. So this is week 3. Wow, can't believe it. Time flies when you're having fun. So we're doing what's called a, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this. Watch this time. Danger. Hold on a second. So we've been doing dialogical sermons, which basically is me doing a very short, you're like, yeah, short, a short exegesis. Exegesis is just basically looking at the scripture passage of the week and doing some research about the Greek language. If there's anything that's sort of a nuance that we should notice in English that isn't quite right, or maybe there's like a double meaning in a word. I like language, you know, I'm crazy that way. But also just kind of looking at the story within the gospel itself, because usually we're doing a gospel story. So we're in Luke. So each week I try to give you a little bit of background about the story, maybe some stuff that people don't normally catch. And then after I do that, I kind of give my personal take on what the story means to me. And then I let you go. It's Q&A time. You can make statements or you can ask questions. If I don't know the answer, I'll just say I don't know. So Google it. I won't say Google it maybe, but I don't know the answers obviously. So if I didn't know the answer, I'll try to respond to it. But last week was great. Last week was, wow, I don't want to be like exaggerating about it, but it was really a great experience for me. I hope it was for those of you who were here. So this week we're talking about being dead, but in a different sense. So we're back in Luke's gospel, and this is, you know, following the story we got last week. For those of you who weren't here last week, we had the story about this centurion, you know, this guard, this military person who comes in and wants Jesus to heal his servant. So now Luke is doing what Luke often does. Luke's author will pair 2 healing stories together. So we get that this time. So this story is also about healing. And as I mentioned last week, Luke has a clear agenda. Every gospel does, every author does, because every gospel is painting Jesus in a certain way. And I'm not saying that in a negative way, because that shows, I think, the depth of how people saw and interacted with Jesus. And I think we are the same today. We all sort of have our own experience of Jesus. And so the Gospels show that to us. So here's Luke's clear agenda in this story. Luke's author wants us to know that Jesus is a prophet. That's really, really important, that Jesus is a prophet. So for those of you who care and want to look at this now and have your phone and you like to, there's a story in 1 Kings chapter 17. 1 Kings is kind of boring, the majority of it in the Old Testament, but there are some good stories in there, and some of these stories literally are direct connections to what Jesus says. So there's a story in 1 Kings chapter 17 about the prophet Elijah. Maybe some of you have heard of Elijah. Elijah is an empty chair during the Passover meal, it's always said. All right, so Elijah in the story gets this, encounters a widow, sounds familiar, at this certain gate, Zarephath. And then Elijah the prophet revives her once dead son. Sound familiar to anyone? Yes. All right, so there's a clear connection there, isn't there? Okay, so here we are in our story in Luke. Jesus went to Nain. It's a town in Galilee. It would be considered a city, so it wasn't like a podunk town. It was, you know, pretty good sized city. Jesus was followed at this point in the story by a large crowd. So remember that it didn't start out that way. Jesus had sort of like a smaller group of followers, but now it was a large crowd clearly following him into the city. And as this large crowd entered with Jesus, they encountered another large crowd, but this large crowd was a group of mourners. Now in Jewish custom, in the 1st and 2nd century, mourners were professionals. They were actually hired to mourn. And it's a little bit strange, but culturally it made sense. Think about it this way. Let's say you had someone in your family pass away. but you didn't have a lot of family around you, or you didn't have people who might show up at the service or whatever they would do, right? So professional mourners would be that for you. That was the way the community would show support to you. So it's not as bad as it sounds. It's actually a good thing for people. So this huge crowd of mourners meets this crowd of Jesus' followers, right? And there is a woman, we find out, who has lost her only son. And that's important. It's really, really important in their culture because being a widow was bad enough. But then to not have a son, and I know that we're talking about gender, and I know we're talking about some of the societal things of the time, and this is just giving you some context, that sons were important because of money, right? So this is all about money, nothing else, right? So in this story, she was a widow, right? So she had no one to take care of her in their culture and society, and now no son. So she was going to be completely pushed to the edge of society. This is what happened in that day and age. So she would have been marginalized. No money, no support. And then Luke says, and this is important, Jesus saw her. Every time Jesus sees somebody, that's a really, really important phrase we're supposed to pay attention to. Last week I said when Jesus turns, we should pay attention. In this case, Jesus sees her. Because at this point, widow lost her only son. After the professional mourners are done mourning, she's alone. No one will see her. She'll be completely marginalized. But Jesus sees her. So who would see her besides Jesus? But Jesus is moved emotionally. You notice this? Now Luke doesn't like to do that. Luke's kind of got this passive-aggressive thing with Jesus. You know, he wants to show that Jesus, I'm assuming the author is that Luke's author wants to assume that Jesus is not really emotional all the time because Jesus is God, right? A prophet. And prophets don't show all that emotion unless they're mad at Israel, right? But then they show a lot of emotion. So sometimes Luke will go back and forth on this, and this is the case when Luke sort of gets a little bit soft. He's softy. And Jesus is moved. And it's a word in Greek that I can't really translate in English. It just means he's broken by this. He's broken down by this woman's situation. And so he has compassion for her. And he tells her to her face, don't weep. Don't weep. Side note, next week's teaser is about crying. So Luke is doing this to us today. I know, right? It's going to be great. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. So the drama unfolds in the story. Jesus went up to the beer. So it looks like, we're in Germany or we're somewhere and it's beer. Get some beer, right? Beer in or something. No, it's not. Sorry to disappoint you. It's not that. Do you know what a beer is? Anybody know? Any ideas?
Stand on which the casket is.
Hey, look at that straight up knowledge.
Is it beer like bear?
B-I-E-R.
B-I-E-R.
I know, but I'm saying, would it be like, is it full bear? Would it be beer?
Right. Yeah, you got it. That's straight up knowledge there, Mary. Mary T with that knowledge there. That's right. So it's that portable frame where they put the coffin as they're taking it to the grave, right? So this group, you can imagine this group, they're carrying it, right? And they can't touch it. Because remember the Jewish customs, like they're unclean if someone's dead. So they have these things, these poles that keep them from being unclean. It's like the selfie stick, keeping your distance away from this coffin, right? So imagine this big crowd, they're carrying this thing, they meet the Jesus crowd, and they have to stop. Because it's like, what's going on here, right? So what does Jesus do? He touched it. It's like, what, really? So right away he's unclean. So you can imagine the gasps, right? What? Right? Because no prophet would do such a thing, right? Well, Jesus didn't seem to care. So he tells the supposedly dead son, this is literally what the translation should be raised. That's important because in the resurrection stories of the Gospels in which Jesus and also Lazarus rises from the dead, the actual correct phrase is be raised. It's a state of being, be raised. So the son stands up, right, and he's given back to his mother. So it's really about the mother here, isn't it? Yeah. He's given back to the mother. The now combined crowds, now one crowd, not two. They're scared, they're excited, and all the rest. And Luke's author reminds us why they are, because a great prophet has arisen among us. So he even uses that word there, arisen among us. You see what Luke is doing? I love it. It's so cool. Anyway, language is awesome. All right, so let me take a quick look at the story. Here's my Twitter-sized personal take. I'm not a person, and this is not any criticism of those of you who are thinking differently than me, because I hope you do. But I'm not one who really believes in raising people from the dead. I don't really believe that. If that makes me a skeptic, so be it. But I don't think these stories are true false stories either, so let me say that. Meaning that you either have to believe it 100% or you don't. I don't really think these stories are meant to be taken that way. I think that resurrection is real, however, but not just the kind that means zombies and stuff, although talking about zombies is kind of fun, right? I do believe that people can rise from the dead, even while they're still on this earth. I've seen it. So think about it. Have you yourself ever felt dead, even though you were technically alive? I mean, you could feel somewhat of a pulse, but you're not really sure if there would be a pulse, right? Think about that. Have you ever felt dead? I have, and not just once. In fact, in the last couple of years, I've certainly had probably more of those moments for various reasons, both personal and otherwise. So I'm not going to give you all those examples, but it's one of those things where, for me, it was going through the motions, like go to work, go to school, whatever, wash, rinse, dry, repeat, just empty, just pure emptiness, right? But for me, I can give you two examples when resurrection happened for me. So once it was, and this is a few years ago, I realized, I just had this epiphany, and it just came out of nowhere. I just realized that I didn't have to please people all the time. I'm a people pleaser. I really am. I mean, I was kind of raised that way. My parents both are too. Love them to death. They're great people, but they're people pleasers, and I am too. So, I've also got the actor personality, which is completely that way. I mean, actors are like, we need applause, right? That's what we do, right? So we want to please others. Lulu, exactly right. Elvis last night, but Lulu the other night. So I just felt dead. Because everything I did was for other people. There wasn't really much that I did that was something that I felt good about doing, that I just wanted to do. And that was killing me. I felt dead. But then I felt alive because for the first time I felt free to just be myself and to realize that by being fully myself, I did pretty well with people. That for the most part, the people I cared about were all with me. And that's really what mattered to me anyway. Because all those other people I was trying to please, they didn't really know me. They didn't really care about me that much anyway. That was number one. The other one that sticks out in my mind as I was thinking this week was a time in my life when I felt dead because I thought and I felt, and this is recent, I felt that the future was just hopeless. You ever had that feeling? I just felt stuck. You know what I mean? Like you're like, all right, I'm this age, and this is happening, and I don't know what's happening next, and it doesn't look good to me. Right? There's nothing that I see or can imagine that seems hopeful, and I'm a very hopeful person, so when that happens to me, it freaks me out. Freaks me out, all right? You just hit him hard.
Sometimes.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, yeah. That's good. I feel dead, right. So I felt stuck. But, and this is true, I became alive when someone randomly entered into my life, and this person did not mean to do this. Okay? So this person did not know that I was going through this. And this person woke me up to the simple reality, very simple, of appreciating the present moment and just embracing today. I was spending so much time saying, the future looks terrible. Like, I don't have any hope for the future. And I was just forgetting about right now, this moment, like just saying, I'm alive. And, there's some good things happening right now. I have enough food to eat. And that's actually choose what I eat every day. You know how rare that is? Like, think about that. Just simple things like that. That I can breathe in fresh air. That I can go for a walk and feel safe. Before I knew it, I was not thinking about a dead future. I was embracing right now. And I truly felt resurrected. So I think this Luke story and all the others in the Gospels that are of similar nature to it are about how Jesus helped people wake up to reality. To discover, wherever they were, that they didn't have to feel so empty and so dead in life. That they actually had the ability to really be alive and to be renewed. It's that whole reign of God on earth thing that Jesus talked about that we often forget. That now it's called the kingdom in many senses. I use reign because kingdom is sort of related to sort of other realities that don't necessarily mesh with ours. So reign of God is really the word that is in the Greek. It's that whole thing that God's reign is not something we wait for in heaven. It's here, in you and in me. Every day we have a chance to redefine ourselves and start over. There's a great, there's this guy from India who's, he wouldn't consider himself a guru, but he's one of those guys who I just really appreciate. And he says this all the time to the people he speaks to. He says, every day when you wake up, you should just change your name. Change your name. Now he's being facetious, but he's being also honest. He's saying, what if you got up every day and changed your name? So you're no longer Lisa. So you're not thinking about, oh, I've been Lisa for all these years. Now you're no longer Lisa. The reality of actually coming to grips with that we can do that. We actually can redefine ourselves every single day. That is a freeing thing. That every day we have a chance to be alive again. So that's my take. I won't really drop it. So what do you think? What do you think? Questions, responses, eggs you want to throw against the wall, and then we'll clean them up.
So what was the purpose of the story, saying about the mother, to say, if, for instance, the son was not being brought back to life again, what was the benefit to the mother? I didn't.
Well, my take is, I think the mother was dead. She was literally dead to society, right? So, and we see this many times in the Gospels in which we think it's a healing that's a physical healing. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a multifaceted healing. So in her case, she was going to be out. She would have no life whatsoever. And so that's why Luke takes great care in saying that the child, the son, is given back to her. So his being alive makes her alive.
I think it also has to do with Jesus' own mother, because he knows what she's going to go through when he's gone. It's her firstborn son. I mean, I know she's got other kids, but that doesn't change the pain. My brother's never going to stop mourning his son. And also wanted to mention, I can definitely agree with the whole redefining the person thing.
So what's your name now?
Oh, Eli or Liz, whichever. Yeah.
No, it's a really good point. I didn't think about Mary either, and that's actually interesting to think about. The empathy piece. That Jesus has this type of empathy.
Just clarify too, talking about not literally reading into this one passage or the one, when people are raised from the dead. Can you clarify for us about Jesus being raised from the dead? Is that more than two? That's good.
No, I mean, it's
Dad, you wanted this to be shorter today.
Yeah.
You're not asking the right question for short.
This is yeah.
I mean, I've said this before, and I don't view resurrection as a dogma, right? As something that we have to believe. Now, the church has defined it as such over the centuries. So in the 4th and 5th century, that's when it became a dogma. Now, we don't have time to go through this, but it's a great question, and I think it's one we will address eventually. But and we can talk more about it. But there is. So when we study sort of the Gospels and what the Gospels theology is about resurrection, specifically about Jesus, it was much later when it became established that it was a bodily resurrection.
Right.
So I'm not saying, again, that viewpoint is false or weird or whatever, because the way that people thought in the 1st and 2nd century is very different than the way we think. They did not separate the body and the soul as we do. So there were many cases when death and life were commingling, if that makes sense. So in their heads, this idea that Jesus could rise from the dead was real. And if you look at the appearances, I mean, this is what I go. I go for empirical evidence in the Gospels, right? So I look at each story, and if you look at the evidence of resurrection of Jesus, right, what are the stories we get? Every single person Jesus appears to is different. Sometimes Jesus isn't even Jesus. They don't even recognize it, right? And it's funny because there are even times when Jesus is in different places in different times. So to me, that says that absolutely that we're connected all the time. Now, the whole bodily resurrection versus, whatever, I don't necessarily think that debate is important to me. Yeah, it may be important to others, and that's fine. But I do believe in resurrection. I think that the people who had these experiences with Jesus were true experiences, and I think we have these experiences also ourselves. I don't know if I even come close to it. Yeah. I think it's beyond the reality that, and not to get into metaphysics and all that, but it's beyond that. We talked about the cosmic Christ a little while ago, Richard Rohr and all that. That's kind of what I'm reaching for here.
Kind of beyond what, in my mind, the human mind can actually even foresee.
Well, I mean, we all know John's Gospel was written in the 1960s.
Right, but
it was psychedelic, right? It's the way it describes, right?
There you go.
I mean, it was pretty much the Beatles wrote that.
There you go. Because I've personally never seen anyone raised from the dead, so sometimes it could be just like beyond almost human comprehension to me.
Well, and I mean, that's it. You just brought it up. I think that is the chief problem we have is when we have a historical figure that we're kind of like wrestling with. How come this is the only historical figure that we know who physically rises from the dead? Do we really know that? And when you talk to people of other faiths, it's the same thing. Like, it's funny, like I have these conversations with, all sorts of folk, like Muslims, and but in particular, last week we had a conversation with some Muslims, and they were saying, to them Jesus is a prophet, just like Luke wanted Jesus to be, right? Like 100% prophet, and that literally means the mouthpiece of God. So they believe that that's a manifestation of God. But when it comes to resurrection, the whole body thing is not, like that's not in their mindset. It's not really something they would say. But the resurrection as terms of Jesus' spirit being present, absolutely. Because they evoke the same thing with Muhammad. So what I'm trying to get at, I think sometimes our experience with those stories is like either or. I don't necessarily think it has to be.
All this reminded me of something that may not fit necessarily, but I had an uncle, Elmer Schwant, who was a Lutheran pastor, and he tells a story about one of his church members who died and was at the funeral parlor getting ready for embalming, and he went to the funeral parlor to talk to the proprietor there, and the dead guy wakes up.
I have two stories like that. When I did funerals for outside folk, and the funeral directors would tell me stories. And he said this one Italian funeral was like that, and not just this way he described the story. He's Italian too. He's just like, just full of people, and literally like the person. It's just, and I'm not making this up. It's real, So you have to also ask the question physically. Doctors will say this to you. They don't always know. I've seen codes in ERs, and you think something, and then something else happens. So there's weird stuff, absolutely. Yeah.
I looked it up recently because of the creepy conversations with my daughter. My husband asked me, well, they don't really they don't really mistake people as dead anymore, do they? And I was like, no. So I got out my trusty phone and I Googled it, and yeah, the most recent time someone was officially mistaken as dead was 2002.
Yep.
I'm like, oh my God. I'm getting bells. Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah, that's kind of current events, yeah.
Yeah.
My grandfather was he was in a big car accident like 30, 40 years ago, and he was pronounced dead on the operating table for like 15 minutes. And he came back, but he said, he swears he met Moses when he died, and he told him that he's not ready to go yet. He has to stay with his two mentally challenged sons. And he came back.
It's funny that Moses and not Elijah, because Moses isn't the resurrecting
That's why I was like,
prophet,
why Moses?
Why Moses? Say, holy Moses.
Say his name?
What? No. Yes.
I was saying that I have had ghosts in my room sometimes. I see them, I'm not thinking, I see them, saw them a long time ago, and I think that's telling me to my dad to be good and not get hurt or anything like that.
I have nothing to say about ghosts, man. I'm gonna leave that comment, let it be.
I see this a little differently. Looking at the statement there and looking at, this, what I read about, which was sort of weird. I see it as more of like a depression, where you're down and you're out and you're depressed. And some people obviously, deal with this on a major basis. And, we all, I'm sure, experience a depression every now and then. And coming out of it is obviously a good thing, a good feeling. And, I think, from that standpoint, I think maybe, that's the message that's coming across to me. If you are in a depressed state, there is hope to get out of it, okay? And you can, and you will, okay?
Yeah, and I think to piggyback on that, I think it's consistent too with the Psalm that we read today, Psalm 30.
That's what I said. Yeah, look at that.
Absolutely.
When I first read it,
and that Psalm 30 appears all through the Gospels.
Yeah.
They didn't call it depression, but that's what it was.
Well, yeah.
I guess that takes good take us into the question that you posed of how, with the weekly email of when have we felt down. And Tom, what's your name, Dean? Ooh, moment. Dean really hit the nail on the head. Those of us that suffer from full-on depression and anxiety to the point where 20 years ago I had a nervous breakdown and said, no, I could ever be alive again. Somewhere at some point, I rose up and I lied to tell you about it 20 years later. 3 kids, do I struggle on a daily basis? Yes, but it's, I wake up each morning and just thankful that I'm awake, and thankful that I have a new day, and look for the positives to help me through that. And my faith plays a big part of that.
Other comments or questions?
I'm a PK too, so I'm a people pleaser. I guess they go together. I don't know. But it's
Some rambunctiousness goes with that, but
well, also because I know older sister and a younger brother that always fought all the time, so I was a mediator and so I tend to get lost in that sometimes if you get overworked and being a pleaser, and you can get down and out. But I think, to me, my experience has been, over time, you see how we got through it like 2, 5, 6 years ago, and you figure out that technique of getting yourself through it. Or should be some type of love. Figure out how to say, okay, this is not the right way. I like it now. Yeah, thanks, Jim.
yeah. So again, I mean, just to sort of bring this to full circle, I think that at least my take is that this is not a story about physical death. I think this is really a story about how we go through this cycle on this earth together. And we forget sometimes just how short it is. I mean, how quick of time it is, and that we should take advantage of it. And also that I think our connection to each other, like why Jesus was so worried about this woman, because he understood, as Eli was saying, I mean, Jesus understood, had empathy for her situation, what she was going to feel after all the mourners left. That she would just be alone. And nobody likes to feel that. I don't feel that. So even when I get sick of people, I don't really want to be alone, right? So I hope you'll take that with you this week. So teaser. This is going to be good next week. I'm looking forward to it. It's about emotions. And I mentioned that in this story today, Jesus says to the woman, don't weep. All right. It's going to change next week, which is cool. I'm going to read to you a quote. Oh gosh, somebody help me because my brain's tired today. The author is Frederick Buechner. Yes, I got that right. Frederick Buechner. Anybody heard of this person before? Google it. Yeah, you know Buechner. All right. So this is from Whistling in the Dark. And this is what he writes. Whenever you find tears in your eyes, especially unexpected tears, it is well to pay the closest attention. They are not only telling the secret of who you are, but more often than not, of the mystery of where you've come from, and are summoning you to where you should go next. So the question for next week is, do you cry easily and often? I know some of you do, and I'm jealous. Or like me, do you struggle to cry? So this is for all people here. So do you cry easily or often? Or do you struggle to cry? And those of you who struggle to cry or don't struggle, what do those tears mean? What do those tears mean? That's the teaser for next week. Thanks for coming, everyone. I'm staying here because we're doing prayers now. It's good. I like this. Yeah, I can stay here. So this is our time to sort of just connect again, to share what's going on in our lives, the lives of people who matter to us, and even to pray for the world, to lift up these prayers. And remember that prayers are things, the moment that you start to speak, the prayer has begun. Right? So what would you like to share?
Yeah. There was a lady I met at my job last week. She just informed me that she just had a whole chest removed because of cancer, and she's going to be losing her legs pretty soon too. So I just want to keep her in our prayers.
Prayer for Sean's COVID. Yeah.
To go tomorrow for my follow-up. Hopefully I don't have to go back on any of this, but sort of a radiation oncologist, and she's going to look at some and having a little bit of pain.
celebration for Jim's dad, celebrating his 50th year of ordination. The weather.
I'm never gonna make it that long.
Yeah.
I'm saying.
I'm just saying, I'm never going to make it long in the future, but the prayer request is that the weather's supposed to be really nasty later on tonight. We've got people driving in and flying out, so just prayers that the weather would just get everyone there safe and enjoy the weekend.
Hopefully it'll just be rain.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, and 50 years is a special time. You look back and it's amazing that it's lasted that long. That's 6 churches and different examples of how this can do different ministries all the time. It's amazing. God worked in his life. And appreciate his help in this continuing prayer.
Prayers for Jim's parents. Pray for the whole political landscape, because we should say it. I mean, we're in a political year, so it's good. I mean, we really need to do that, and especially for I'll just say, that we should be treating each other better, and I think that goes for online treatment, especially. So, just encouragement that all of us in our own way will be not trying to change people's minds, but to call people out when they're just being mean. That's something we need to do, and not be afraid to do that. That's all I'm saying. Yes.
Another 50th. 50 years ago yesterday, my parents were married. And, even though Mom's not on the earthly world, their hearts are still connected.
That is true. Thanks, Mom. Yes.
I just want to thank all the ladies and families that were being John Real last month. And thank you.
We're all glad to do it. Thanks, Mom.
Prayers for Mom Hanali's family, all those his passing.
Yeah. There are only a few people that sort of cross over generations, right? Their impact. Certainly. Yeah.
Just continuing prayers for our company that's traveling all over the world as we try to get our trial done. It's an important trial. Many of you know it's for neonatal kids that won't necessarily can't read too well. So they're getting their back every place to actually help them with this product for trial.
All right, I'll start the prayer, and I'll leave a space for you. Let's pray together. God, thank you that every day can be a new start. It really can. And we ask that, especially during those times or those days when we don't see that, we don't feel that, sit with us in our grief. Sit with us in our uncertainty. Sit with us in our pain, when we're feeling low, when we're feeling disconnected. Sit with us. Remind us that we're alive. May we understand the freedom we have to even rename ourselves every day. We thank you for that gift. And now, God, we ask that you hear names of people in our lives who are in need of community or healing. God, hear these names and speak to you. All this we ask through the great empathizer. Amen. Well, now I have to stand up. So I'll do that. I'm taking this with me. I got it. All good. It's all good. I'm not going to touch this. So, friends, it's fitting that today, as we talk about life, that we're celebrating the sacrament of communion. So this is open. We always say this and reiterate it because we want everyone to know this is open table communion. Everyone can participate in this, no matter what age you are, where you are in life's journey. We always encourage you, if you have young children, to teach them about this sacrament via the actual doing it. So there's a story behind everything, right? There always is. We all have stories. And this is no different. It's quite the simple story, actually. Jesus was in Jerusalem, and they were there for Passover. He was there with his friends, the disciples. By this point, it was, the end of Jesus' ministry. It was a pretty short time, not 50 years, actually. It was a very short time that he did what is called his ministry. And he was with his friends and disciples, and by this point, things were dangerous. He had become too much of a rabble-rouser, and they were sort of hiding away a little bit, even as they were celebrating Passover. So they're in this place they call the upper room in the gospel stories, and they're having food. Welcome, guys, come in. We're having food. And I think that after Jesus had welcomed the children and said, they're welcome at this feast, the disciples were starting to get it, although they were still struggling with this idea of what it meant for them to be alive, even when Jesus was going to be gone. So after supper, Jesus took bread, and it was quite similar to this, I'll tell you. Jesus took bread, and he broke it. He gave thanks for it. He gave it to his friends and disciples, and he said, this is my body broken for you. And every time you eat of this, remember me. Now in the same way, Jesus took the cup. And after giving thanks, he gave it to his friends, and he says, this is the cup of mercy poured out for the forgiveness of sins. And every time, you can look at it, every time you drink of this, remember me. That's pretty cool, right? So friends, every time that we drink this cup, every time we eat this bread, we are remembering that we are alive. So we're going to do it by intinction. So you know what happens here? Come to me. So we're going to stand. One person here. I'll be here. Other people will be here. You're going to come up. You're going to take a piece of bread. You remember how this goes in? You take the piece of bread and you dip it in the cup. You remember that, right? All right, so those who are helping me, come help me. And then we can just come together in 2 lines.
And the matzah is gluten-free.
Come, friends, all things are ready. Friends, as a community, when we connect with each other for worship, we also connect to let you know the things that are coming up in the life of our community. We do have quite a few things coming up in the next couple of months. So I'm going to let Pam first talk a little bit about Manna. Any updates?
Okay, well, for Manna, we're set for June and July, so thank you to everybody who signed up. We're looking for volunteers to help out on August 20th. So think ahead, and if you'd like to join us still in June or July, feel free. We'd love to have you.
Thanks. And yes.
I do have a new service opportunity on the 10th and 11th, which is this Friday or Saturday, all-day events up in Yorksville. So if you'd like to be a part of working on a house, they're in the framing point, so we do some framing. If you'd like to do that, please see me, and we can get organized to go. But it's short notice, but that's the way Habitat is.
We also have on Saturday, June 25th, we'll be going to Share, and that's in East Falls, part of Philadelphia. If you would like to join us for the carpool, I believe we're leaving at about 8.
8:15, yeah.
8:15 from here. And that is, we'd like to get a good group from that. How many people?
We told them we'd bring 20.
So if you're interested, please see Mari, myself, or Caroline, and we'd be glad to talk with you about it. And it is kind of for all age groups, so we can also talk with you about that and how that works out as well. You want to say something?
Yeah, actually, some of us are, sorry, good voice, still in contact with Gary and Deb Winters, Dave Winters. If you've sponsored a child through their Liberian ministry before, they're doing a painting fundraiser, a painting with a twist on June 12th at 3 p.m. So if you're interested in supporting their mission in Liberia, please let me know. And also the Sunday, June 12th at 3 p.m. And if those of you who have sponsored a child before through them, I will have your forms for next year if you would like to do it again.
After worship today, our team, that's our search team looking for the space, we're going to have a brief touch-base meeting, so just to remind you of that following fellowship. And then, Mari, help me out with some of these dates. There's a lot coming up.
We do.
So what's the first thing?
Philly, next Sunday, after church, anyone going to NYE and their parents. Then we have Philly Food Share on the 25th. We have a car wash July 16th at Pep Boys as a fundraiser. We're doing outdoor worship at Peace Valley Park on July 17th.
Yeah, so we'll be sending out an email with sort of a calendar of these events so you can get them in your head. Don't worry, you have to remember all this stuff today. We'll be having outdoor worship, excuse me, some prep for NYE, and our also our faith formation group.
I missed that one. See, I knew I'd miss.
Oh, it's hard to remember.
That's the 26th.
We'll be gathering also.
The National Youth Event.
And one last thing, and then I'll be quiet. We have a lot coming up. So we're going to have a follow-up to what we did Thursday, and I'll be emailing all of you, even those of you who couldn't make it to that meeting. And if any of you, didn't come to that meeting, but have thought, I'm interested in getting more connected and maybe taking more of a leadership role, please see me. This is a wide open thing. So we're going to have a follow-up. I have, all of you took the assessment. I didn't do the Excel. It generated itself. So somebody who likes charts maybe can do it later, but the Excel that the Strength Finders put together basically shows everybody's strengths together. And it's a kind of neat way to sort of see where we're at as a congregation. We'll be sharing that with all of you too, and I hope to sort of incorporate some of the stuff in Sunday worship that we did on Thursday. We'll follow up with that soon. And also look soon for an email from me. We're going to start our small group gatherings, and these will be in people's homes to start out. A few of you have come and offered to do that, and I thank you for that. We're going to start small and see where it goes. The first one will be hosted by Kristen and Will. They live in Chaffron, so I'll be sending you info about that date and the address, and that's just a way for us to connect and also to learn from each other. Whoever hosts these gets to choose what we do. So. And we're going to get a little bit behind here, I guess, when we do that, right? So, yeah. All right. So, if we're going to Mary Jo's, Mary Jo will choose painting as a spiritual exercise, which you could do. Very much, right? Very much. Any other announcements that I missed? Yes, Coach.
Coach Joe.
Softball. We won this week, so we're back to 500. And our game this week is on Tuesday at 6:30 at Kemper Park on Valley Road in Warminster against St. Andrews.
Thank you, Joe. All right, friends, now is your time as you feel moved to give to the ministry of UCC Warminster. We do pass a plate. We also have online giving as well. If you wish to give to specific things, bring the gifts that you have. friends, as you go from this place, don't be afraid tomorrow to wake up and redefine yourself. You have this opportunity. Even I have this opportunity every day to be resurrected. So may every shower or bath you take, if it's once a week like me, or if it's every day, and every time that water touches your skin, whether it rains tonight and you're able to experience that, may that be a baptism. Every time you experience that, a new life, a way that the Spirit fills you and says, you don't have to be the same as you were yesterday. No matter how low you feel at any point in your life, your God sits with you in those low moments. And what comes next is resurrection. So go from this place. And may the grace of Jesus Christ, may the love of God, and may the Spirit that makes all of that possible thing, may it be yours now and always. Amen.